Hey, Brian from Blackseed, thanks for joining. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Hit me up on Instagram under Blackseed Originals as well. I love talking to people, seeing your projects, and helping out where I can. Today, we're going to do a panel real quick that goes behind the seat in my OBS project. So we're doing a throwback. It had blue interior. The outside is currently blue, but blue outside, blue interior. We're changing it all to black. Dash has already been wrapped. We have custom door panels to make. I have the Q forms right here already loaded with Phoenix Gold Tie Series 6.5 components. And then I have some vintage audio. I did buy some really nice Oz audio, 5 1/4, the old Superman logo, 90s, SQ components for the truck. They've been in shipping for 14 days now. Thank you, United States Postal Service. They're probably lost somewhere, and how you went from St. Louis to Dallas and missed my house by 300 miles, I'll have no idea. But so hopefully those aren't lost, but I had these tie series, so I kept on going with it. Just going to go over a few things for upholstery because I think today's tips will help everyone out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with vinyl on this plastic panel and show you how I do it. I do want to show you the Q forms because this is a little different process. We'll be making the speaker grill. If you see this is beveled and uses speaker grill material, but this is real leather. It's a different process. So for real leather, if I'm trying to get into these deep curves and without sewing and make everything form to it, I soak it in water. I'll soak it in water for a day, and then I'll start my process from there. It's kind of like if you're breaking in a baseball glove, right? You soak it and then you wrap it up. That's all I know. I'm not a sports guy, but I know leather, right? So we're going to wrap this today. One of the other things, show you a few tools that we use. A couple things I use an Olfa knife. I used to tint windows. In the mid-90s, I did a lot of window tinting, mid to late 90s. And so some of this stuff like the heat gun and the Olfa knife, all that stuff kind of transitioned with me. So I don't know what other trimmers are using, but these are the tools I use. So razor sharp knife, I use this a lot. The other thing for upholstery are really good scissors, right? And I use different scissors for fabric than I do carpet because carpet will dull scissors like this. This is a really nice scissors made in Japan, high carbon stainless. They're by Kai. These are my favorite scissors. They have some kind of bearing right in here, and they're so smooth. I use these on fabric a lot. Over the past 20 years of doing upholstery, these have become my favorite. Heat gun, because as I just said, when I'm looking at my Q forms and using leather, it's a different process. I use water to mold, and then typically no heat on leather. I use heat on vinyl. Vinyl you can stretch out, you can form it, get a little heat in it, get a lot of heat in it, and it's almost like melting plastic to your hands, so don't do that. But heat gun comes in handy. I love it. And then the other thing is commercial upholstery glue. Now, the bad thing is this is only available to trimmers that are in the business. Usually I have a 5-gallon can. I buy a lot of the 1 gallons just because they're a little easier to store and I don't have to crack them open. But if I have a big project, I'll buy a 5-gallon can, pour from that. It's Weldwood's Landau Top Adhesive. And this stuff, unlike, so I'm on a ton of groups in Facebook, ton of car groups, and I see guys and girls out there grabbing the 3M stuff and the aerosol cans, and that stuff's just horrible. They're doing headliners with it. They're trying to put together shift boots, whatever they're doing with it, it's just complete junk. If I was to use that, it would just be as like a tack spray on foam to vinyl or foam to leather while I'm sewing it, and then my end piece would be sewed. But for, say, headliners or these hard plastic pieces, this is a quality glue. It's going to keep it on there, and then if you're molding the indention, I'll show you here. So this is that panel behind the seat. See that indention? We're going to mold to that indention. And then we're going to get a nice wrap on this. You have to use quality glue. So I've had people ask, well, if it's only used for professionals, how do I get it to use? Well, you may call around to some of your local shops and see if they'll sell you a can or sell you a quart of it, something of that nature. The other thing is, so I used to use Harbor Freight guns, and then for whatever reason, I went through a batch of 4 or 5 of those guns that just didn't work. I had warranty on them. I just kept trading them out, and dude, I'd bring them in, and look at these cups, all the glue on it. I'd bring them in just like that. They'd swap them out, but I started having problems with them. Typically shops use a pressure pot, a really nice unit. The really nice professional ones are about $1,000. For 20 years, I've used throwaway guns. I buy the ones from Lowe's. This is actually a Cobalt. They're made for shooting latex, and they have a bigger tip on them. You want like a 1.4 or something, like if you're going to shoot primer. But here's my thing. These throwaway guns, I don't clean them, and they work just fine. And I go to a project, and these actually may last like 3 or 4 months, but I'll go buy 3 or 4 of them at a time and just jam them in a cabinet that I have, and I'll legit, once it stops working, I'll throw it away. But as long as it's sealed, the glue's good in it. It'll build up on the tip, and ice clean the tip, and that's it. Toss the damn thing when it's done. But this is a glue you gotta have if you want a long-lasting project. The other thing to know, I see a lot of people buy a thin material, something with no backing on it, and this stuff will bleed through. Unlike the 3M, you don't get enough coverage to really bleed through. This will bleed through. The gun helps you control it. That's when I go to like a Joann Fabrics or something of that nature and try to find a quality vinyl. You're really not going to do it. Not an automotive vinyl. So I'd suggest just hit your local shop. They can probably order something in for you for the same price you're going to spend at the other place. So I just had this piece. I left it long on both ends so that I can show you when I cut it. And then I also grabbed a piece that was a little wrinkly just to show that the heat gun's going to take all that out. Now typically I roll my pieces. I just grabbed a piece of black scrap. I mean, it's new, it looks good. It's going to work for my purposes. And honestly, all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set up and glue the face of this right where the crease is, so the indentation. So I want to get that indentation done first, and then I'll go around and pull the rest of it out. What I did was I just kind of lined this up to make sure I had enough overhang that when I did the rest of it, I'm fine. And I'm going to glue it now. Now the other thing is with this this particular glue, it's a contact adhesive. So you spray both sides, and I'm just doing the indentation and enough of the material to hit that indentation. It's a contact cement, so you spray it on both sides. And then you let it set. You let it dry and tack up. So as you can see, I sprayed glue on both sides. on my vinyl on the piece. And I just sprayed it in there because I'm not sure how I want to take this piece. It's a couple different options, and it'll legit take 2 or 3 minutes to tack up. A couple different options. I have the option of just covering this whole thing in glue and just pulling it tight, right? Depending on material and color, doing that sometimes shadows or goes through the spray pattern of the glue, which is not good. The other thing is what I try to do, because it looks good, I float it. So I'm doing the recess right now. I'll make sure that's nice and stuck. I'm going to have to heat it in a minute and just make sure that I get it where I want it. And then honestly, at that point, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to heat my larger piece and start on one side at a time, and I'm going to glue it on the back side. I'm going to basically float the front of this, which means I'm not gluing the whole piece to the front. I'm gluing it to the back. It'll work just fine. Did the same thing on my A-pillars in the truck. I just heat up the piece, I glue the back, and I stretch it out over it so it basically takes the form of my A-pillars and the deep cuts. And I'll have to show that when it's light outside. And it makes it look much better. In fact, so I have an adjustable heat gun. It's pretty nice. I gotta go to a cordless one. Starting to switch all my tools over to cordless. I keep it about 800 degrees. This thing will take paint off, but like I was saying, like the window tint days, you keep it moving. Same on fabric. You keep that thing moving. If you don't, you're melting vinyl, or you're putting a you can melt it just a bit to where vinyl will have like a sheen to it. So this is kind of this vinyl is kind of a satin black that mimics my the leather that I use, the same grain and everything. That way I can do like a seat with vinyl sides and back and a leather front, where that's kind of what GM does to save cost. So I'm just going to heat this up. It's got a bunch of wrinkles in it. I'm not even worried about it. When I start stretching, it'll go with it. Now I'm probably only going to do a small section at a time, or from about halfway up. Usually if I'm doing like a headliner or a long piece like that, I start in the middle and work my way out. So no reason to heat the whole thing. And again, I just keep it going. I just want it hot enough so I can stretch it to make sure it gets in all the nooks and crannies of that recess. And I have other tools to do it. This recess isn't that deep. And legit something you can do at home. I just stop using the 3M for the love of God. Stop buying craft spray and trying to put your headliners in. Whatever you're doing, just stop it. So I'm heating the front, and what's going to happen is, now my glue, like I can touch the glue and it's not tacky at all. It's going to stick. But with the front being warmed up, when I stretch it, it's going to stretch all the wrinkles out. Let's see if I can get it here to where you can see it. And I'm floating that front. There's no glue here. There's glue in this channel. And it's warm. I'm wrapping it as tight as I can. And I'm pulling down on it because I'm pulling all these wrinkles out. Take your time. You're not in a rush. This glue, it's contact. It's both sides gets glued. and it gets pulled. Now I'll leave the edges for a little bit. I didn't heat those up. So nice that is. Look here, I made a mistake. I can pull up a little bit and I can get back down. Now this other side. See all this, all these wrinkles and stuff? It's hot. It's stretching it. When we do any vinyl console over custom wood, whatever we do, look, I'm already bleeding. Blood, sweat, and all right. That's where we're at. Now we're going to repeat the process on the top. You can see the difference now. The loose stuff, the bottom stuff, not glued to the front, glued to the back. I floated the front. I just didn't want any of that glue ghosting in. I guess it'll help if I clean the dirt off of this. I missed a spot. See my overlap in the bottom? That's what I use the Olfa knife for. When I come back in a little bit, when I'm happy with it, I'll just go down the whole thing and I'll make my line and leave how much I want there in there, right? But I messed with that last step. No big deal. So I'm gonna glue this front and do the top. I'm heating the back. I'm trying to get this top. Thing is, if it's, you can just wrap it cold. No big deal. I don't do that. If I'm pulling against a hard edge, I always heat it. Speaker box, plastic panel, whatever. If I'm pulling against a hard edge, I heat it because it makes it that much nicer. It's almost molded at that point. I'm going to turn it up and I'm heating the front again. Not 100% necessary. You can make it work without. This has always been my process. Works good. So I keep it like that. Alright, so here we go again. So I'm stretching the front and then I'm rolling it over and sticking it on the back. So what's happening is I'm pulling all the wrinkles out and I'm going against that hard edge, sticking it there. I'm just floating the front. Pull as tight as you can, get the pressure on it. And then you're just kind of sealing it down. And the back side, some of it's crinkling up, but remember, I left enough material on here to use it to stretch. I'm not cutting it to where there's ½ inch left. I got 3 inches in my hand. That's what she said. But I'm using that as leverage. All right, look at the ends. We still got to pull the ends. Look how smooth that is. We'll just do one end at a time. Repeat it, glue it, and listen. I'm going to make what you call a dart here in this corner. There's a couple different ways you can slit. You can slit either side of this. That's probably what I'm going to do. Slit either side, pull the center up, and then pull these others. If it's heated and it's hot, you can pull and mold it straight to a corner. Another way is a dart. You can just stick both sides together and just snip it. It depends. Is the corner going to hide it or not? I'm going to slip both sides. I'm going to heat it, slip both sides, and I'll show you in a second. I'm going to pull it tight. First, I got to get some glue on it. And honestly, the way this is set up, I can probably just trim out a piece here just to make it a little easier for me. Let that set up. I'm going to glue this other end, let it set up. Remember, get coverage on glue, both sides, and let it dry. If it's too wet, it won't stick, and you're just building up your layers of glue, and if it goes through, then it's going to look like crap. So we're going to let it set for a minute, maybe like 5, and then it'll be tacky or almost dry to your hands. But as you see, once you put that pressure down, it's done. So I'm just going to make a cut here on the back side. This way, and I want to go this way. I want to go away from it here. Try not to cut one of my fingers off. So base, and like I said, you can just chop that off. So I'm going to glue it a little bit more and let this set up. But you see what I'm trying to go for here. Basically, when I heat this, I want a lot of the material out of the way. And I didn't cut it all the way down to the plastic. I'm going to heat this a little extra, and when we pull it around, it's going to mold all that, and my cuts are going to probably be right about in here. And it will be molded the rest of the way. Alright, we're about on this. Let this show you. We got a wrinkle in the front. It's just because I hadn't stretched it yet. Keeping the whole thing. Just get it warm. Watch. Takes a pull. See a sharp edge now? Now, let's address this. I still got a little too much material, but it's cool. I'm going to heat it up a little more. That's hot. And honestly, I'm going to trim some of this back. Here's the other way. So this is the bottom side. I just made a dart. You see how I pinched both sides together? Now I'm going to cut it. Then you cut your nice line. Of course, this kind of the same way. After I pulled it, kind of made a dart. I got it way out here. You can cut all your excess out. And wherever your line is, And depending on the panel, you don't want a lot of bulk, because if you're laying it over something else, it may create issues with tolerances. I'm just getting around. I have a little clip that goes there. And that one's broke. But I'll go down each side, trim all that out. Let's repeat the process here. See that? So I glued all this up at the same time. 800 degrees. Not too long, keep it moving, pull it tight. All right. And do it the other way and cut it like this. Take your Olfa blade. You can also use just regular razor blades too. I typically do that, and then I'll cut the heck out of myself. Okay, got a few things go around there. And then we'll go the length of this and just straighten that up. Back to just straighten this up. Take off all the excess. Just give me a line. Get your line. If you need it straight for any reason, could be cleaning up your panels, whatever, and your free hand is, you know, a little off, then use a tape line. Throw a tape line on it and cut the tape line. This is good enough for what we're going to use it for. It's dirty. Time to clean it up. But that's it. That's your panel. Looks like it was painted on. Heat's the trick. Heat. So I'll put this piece in. We're going to work on the corner pieces, and I just wanted to show my headliner. Real piece of suede on the headliner. I was talking about the A-pillars. Let's look at those. We have to do a speaker grills next. The headliner, there's that piece. Looks good. Do the end pieces, and then we can work on the back. So it's really cold outside, still got snow here. We'll continue making pieces and run them out to the truck. I'm going to do the end pieces, got to figure out what I got to do with the 4x6s, and then build my console out. Just have the headliner supported now. It's looking good. Can't wait to get it all to black. Thanks for stopping by.